Welcome to the reading. Let's start with this one. I feel like something you've been working on is trying to get to this point where you're like putting action into these things that you find value in, that you've already identified support your process to getting to where you want to be. A big difference here is maybe you were putting action towards many things before, but there wasn't like true value or consistent motivation to do so. I feel like you've really stepped into a place within yourself where you've learned to identify the things that you're needing to get the things that you want. And this is you deciding in many attempts over and over to choose what will get you there, instead of kind of like what others, to value what others think more than what you're inclined to do or have the intuition to do. I feel like this is where you step out of the role-playing, people-pleasing, whatever game, and you step into this like, no, I've accurately identified things. I know how I feel when I'm connected to self and the things that I want when I'm in that space. And I'm no longer afraid to put energy towards that. And why I say like it's over many attempts is just because how you change is little by little. And so sometimes we like expect ourselves to set a goal and to 100% of the time be able to achieve that little goal that'll get us to our bigger one. But that's so inaccurate and impossible. And there would be no journey, no gratitude for a journey if that were the case. So when I say this is where you have many attempts to put energy into the things that you know you value, that get you to the place where you have things in your life that you value, that you can maintain from a place of calmness, from a place of peace and compassion and love for yourself, that you're not overworked, you're not underpaid, you're not, you're not losing it every moment of the day. You're doing what matters to you. And you have accepted that that is enough. That's how I want to come across in saying that. Because I think that there's a moment of celebration here for all those little times that you chose to put action towards something different than you were doing before, that has created these larger changes that you're beginning to see. But sometimes we don't always see it that way. So this is kind of like a pause and reflect and celebrate moment. Because you've been in like the thick of it, where your, old self is fighting your new self, or however you want to put that. So unless you have like a really healthy inner voice, which I think is actually rare. I think we have to make mistakes, kind of get down on ourselves, and then correct that, and like enlighten ourselves to a new way to do it. I think that's a continuous process of life. I don't think anyone just, has full-fledged confidence and doesn't once think, hey, is that hubris? Is that something else? Like, I don't think good things go in the way of just like always knowing. I think good things go in the way of, what did I learn today? What happened today that I can be aware of? Like, what can I be the student of today? Instead of just like directing, going from place to place, being the director. So it feels like you've stepped back and just acknowledged that in order to kind of be the director of your own life, you have to let go of a lot of other things that you've probably felt inclined to take the lead in or to have control over, but something in you told you not to. And that actually like worked out really well for you. So congratulations. And this is a moment to celebrate the this stage of the changes with the gratitude and understanding that this is the change that needed to happen to even get to the next leg. So whatever got you here, good on ya, Even though, and that's kind of where I was going with that, is like your mind's probably been feeling pulled in different directions about how you've been doing. I think the biggest energy here in this reading is good job. Which is very different from that inner critic, right? Be glad that you had the wit to shake things up a bit and go in a new direction. You have King of Pentacles here. On the bottom of the deck, you have the Queen of Cups. I feel like you're in a space where you're actually around people who have kind of like mastered their own, craft or decisions for themselves. Two people in particular. One of them could be on a plane right now. Two people in particular are, okay, so one person has like their money, their resources, their stability, their decision making within that realm, and their comfort of navigating that world down to a T. And this person could be male, doesn't have to be, but definitely has a more masculine energy coming through. Masculine in the sense of like I feel like masculine energy leans towards provisional, um, I guess, nurturing skills. So, what can I give to you? How can I help stabilize this for you? How can I, how can I take care of the things on the outside of you? And feminine energy kind of does more emotional, intellectual, like spiritual, and communal nurturing. So, how can I, like, help you identify and see things within you to get you to a place where your environment is a reflection of where you want to be growing? And to identify those things, but also to prioritize that you deserve those things in your life. You deserve them for yourself. Other people deserve them in their own lives. And how can we set things up so that you are able to, like, fully bloom in this life, as like who you are and what your purpose is and what lights you up and what you feel so connected to and who you feel connected to. Like, how do we kind of get that magic spark going into a flame that you can maintain? So and both hold this tremendous power, right? But I feel like this person I've described, who's more the resource person, that they're masculine in a sense, or that their power comes from a sense of more provisional needs being met. There's another person, and I do think that this person actually goes to bat with you on certain things. So if because you both are holding these, like, weapons, sticks, wands, whatever you want to call them. And I think this person, if you were to say, hey, I need to go, move a couch, I need to go talk to this resource and get advice, I need to go take care of this matter, that this person is like, I'm right there with you. The other person who seems to be in your life is one more leaning towards that feminine nurturing, which is having great power in how they connect you back to yourself. I don't know if they know how to do that and know that they're doing that, but what it seems like is this person is regarded as like a loving, caring, maybe mother, maybe like as a parent or as a nurturer of, like, women and children specifically. And this person holds great trust in their emotions and in their reactions to how things are playing out, in a way where they're always checking it through, like, does that sit right with me or does it not? This person is really good at holding their own individual values and being vulnerable enough to communicate them or not slide them under the rug. This person does not try to make people more comfortable by making themselves smaller or hidden or anything like that. They do try to make people more comfortable with truth, with reality, with what is. But they're never going to tell you that you can't be who you are in that truth and reality. You can be your true self, and reality can be its true self, and they would advocate that those two things can coexist. These seem to be really important people in your life at this time. I also think this is just an indication of, like, the energy that you've brought towards you. That you realize you function in, now that you know yourself a little better. all three of you, and there could be more, but it seems like there are specific people that you hold close to you, or that go along with you throughout your life and kind of your day-to-day. All three of you, or however many, seem to have already decided within yourselves that your truest nature is allowed to come out wherever you are. Whatever it is, the world that you've mastered, it's like there's a strong sense of both pride and acknowledgement of that. There's a strong sense of value over it. There's confidence now in areas where you might not have it all together. You might not completely all know what you're doing all the time. But I think your centers kind of keep you all on your own path to keep mastering those worlds within you. So whoever this is, this more feminine energy, they're constantly coming back to their heart space. They're constantly showing you this kind of softness inside. They don't go months without that, right? Whereas this person might. This other person who is more resource oriented might not have a lick of that in them. And so that also tells me that you have become more focused on what people can offer than what they can't, or than what gets in the way of you personally being able to connect. You do not need the world to reflect you for you to enjoy it, for you to accept it. That's a huge step in the right direction of that. Something that I think often goes overlooked is when you do connect with yourself, it's like what you're doing is that phrase that goes, let everything go and see what sticks. What you're doing is you're dropping all the unnecessary effort you put to keep things above where they're actually at, and you're letting them fall to wherever it is that they realistically are, and you're accepting that moment. You shed so much unnecessary things. You also shed things that, you shed the ego that wants to come in and say, I know what to do here, when it actually isn't there yet. So you shed some mistakes with that too, and some overzealous pushing with that. You shed a lot of good things when you let things go. A big way to let things go is by picking yourself up, saying, I haven't seen these angles before. I haven't seen what's in here. I haven't seen that I like this, that I haven't discovered this yet. So it shows me that you're at a place where you have accepted these you're multifaceted, and you're learning to see all of that, and it's helping you to accept and see and let others shine, because you can accept those things, because you have kind of come prepared within yourself to let yourself be you. It's transformed something that that was in you, that the more nitpicky you are about yourself, the more you're gonna project that onto other people. So it's just the opposite has happened. The more welcoming that you are of your own energy, you've now welcomed in others too, which I would say probably has a lot to do with who you are. So I would say that if you have these two energies surrounding you, what you probably do is you help people connect to themselves by connecting to yourself and showing that it's okay. And you somehow are providing a resource that moves people in that direction. And that both of those are things that you value within yourself. So let me just get some kind of clarifiers If my decks, by the way, are all upright, I keep them that way. And if they're mixed, I let them be that way. This deck is mixed, even though it's an oracle, for good reason. And both of my tarot decks today have come out all uprights. So you'll see that change occasionally. And all the decks have kind of already been spoken for. So if they have reversals, then I'll read it that way. And if they don't, then I keep them that way. Okay, so this person, I think this is like a stop and like smell the roses kind of reading. Because this person has like loved you to a point where they've shown you enough acceptance of who you are that you actually have more courage to go out and pursue something. And maybe that's your, let me get a card on it. Oh. Okay. So you probably had money issues before. This is like good money coming in. I don't feel that this is like a negative energy. It really feels, okay, so the devil in money is like extreme wealth. This Prince of Wands, I'm asking, what is it leaning towards? Is it a career? Because wands are like the entrepreneurship, so like a self-started career or business. Or is it more like gives you the energy to like work out because that's your goal, or to like stay consistent in a routine because that's your goal, that's helping you get to where it is that you value, your life kind of like supporting you in, or like, let me say that in a non like confusing way. What's your goal for yourself, and what have you identified as the small tasks that to do routinely, or that have to get done before you get there. I was asking if this person helps you to get there, or is helping to give you the encouragement to start something. If this is a business, I'd say they've loved you to the point where you feel confident enough that you can charge for your business. You can make a bunch of money. You don't have to feel like you're, like, for whatever reason, I feel like you were feeling impoverished before. Maybe that's how you were living, but there's someone around you who is like loved you to the point where your confidence has raised up enough to be like, no, you deserve these good things, these nice things in your life. And it's just because of like love and acceptance coming from them consistently. And if this is something where you want to make a lot of money in, I'd say it's even more so geared towards that. However crazy your endeavor is, it's like it's truly tied to you, your well-being, your heart, a purpose that you have, or a, like how this person's purpose is probably something along the lines of like living a life where love is at the center of it, and love of self is highlighted. And this person's importance or purpose is probably more so geared towards like, when you put your mind to something, no matter how far ahead of you it seems, you can always accomplish it. Like there's these messages that these people are exuding, right? And your message is like, you can go from feeling like you're so undeserving to feeling like, you know what? I can actually do this. Like, this is something that I want to do. And maybe in the past, I would have stopped myself and like not let myself move towards this. But you know what? I'm in a space where I feel like that's exactly what I want. That's exactly what I'm going to go for. Um, and if this is um, if this is like a task where you need constant encouragement, motivation to do it, I feel like it's something that's a bit of like an obsessive hobby. So like if it's that you need to go to the gym 3 times a week to like maintain a certain weight or to lose weight or to build muscle or to, prepare for something. This is this person like being a great hype man or hype woman or hype person and being like, you've got this, like go ahead, like just constant, like go for it. You want to go in there. They're not saying, hey, you've worked out like 5 times this week, maybe like give it a rest. They're like, hey, if that's what you got the energy to do, go ahead and do it. Like that's their energy coming from them that's supportive of you. And what you'll notice is that these people are, or that this person in particular is supportive of your own personal decisions for yourself. This is not someone who's controlling your outcome or thinking that they know better how to get there than you do. You just need a good support system around you, but you have everything inside you that you need to do that. And this person trusts that. They have trust for you. And I think that also, like, this person probably wouldn't be like that towards you if they didn't feel like you had that trust within yourself. Like, they're not someone to judge someone's potential, but they're someone who can easily and accurately analyze someone's motivation and whether or not it's present. And truly a part of them. This person knows people like the back of their hand, like really easily and really quickly, even if they never say a word about it. So then we'll move on to this person. This wanted to flip, but it didn't quite. So I'm going to kind of take it as with that energy. This person could be going through some changes right now, trying to decide this or that. I think more accurately, what they're learning about is the balance of things. It doesn't have to be this or that. Just what do you choose in this moment, and how does that affect how you see your other moments, what you do in your other moments, like that they're learning about. You can have both. You can be one way and introduce another way and be both while you're learning to adapt to something new. I think they're stuck in some kind of like, do I do this? Do I do that? They're like over analyzing a situation. And ultimately, you just want to see both of those, one light and one dark, balanced in both hands. Right? Like that's, I think, where they're headed. They're just in some mental kind of like struggle or turmoil about it, but I think that they're going to sort it out. Okay, wow, there's a lot going on. You have the Queen of Pentacles crossing over here, and this is the King of Pentacles. I'd say this could very well be your parents. But it can, if it's not that, like it just seems like a mom and a dad, or someone who's married to the other. But it doesn't have to be that. I think that there's something about this person that is, it's like either disarming or it empowers them even more. This person has help, has a shared like household, and they don't do everything financially on their own, but they can like spend their money on things that they want. So they have some leniency in like they have they have like some kind of financial support that also lets them take care of themselves. It doesn't just go to the collective good, it goes to their good too. So I don't know if this person has like a spouse or receives some kind of supportive income. Um, I'm not really sure why that comes out, other than that, to highlight this idea that like you don't have to do everything yourself. Like you can value certain things but not need to do them all yourself. You can value taking care of yourself and value paying your rent, but one need doesn't always need to trump the other. I understand there are situations where it would, but I think here is a lot of like this mindset awareness of, if I set aside, you know, like, what do I want? Say I'm like struggling to pay rent, but I really want to be able to afford this, like, $50 thing. I'm allowed to set money aside to build it up until I can do that thing. I don't just have to miss out on those things because I'm struggling to pay my rent. Like, there's something about this person that shows a strength of mindset, of caring for self, where they intentionally work it into their life. And I think that's showing you something good that you can do too, that maybe you haven't considered yet, or that's not necessarily your philosophy. And I'll say this is, I think at some point you would have looked at that and said, that's the easy way out. They have it all their things taken care of. Of course they don't have any big problems. Of course they're doing fine. Of course they're feeling successful. I think this is coming out to say, no, that's not what it is. You can have $1 million and still not feel successful. This person has less than that and feels good about themselves. And I think that something that you could experience is you feel like you have to get to this goal to feel better about self. Because I do see an obsession with it. Sometimes that leads to a big pile of money, a lot of, like muscle gain, a lot of like achieving goals, but it doesn't always change your mindset. It doesn't always change the way that you see yourself. So I think what this person is like slowly their next kind of like gift to give you is this idea of like, it doesn't have to be like whatever you want in your life. It is great that you want to go for it, but once you set that goal for yourself, you also get to decide like how to kind of tailor it towards you and what your energy levels are at, and if you're sick versus if you're healthy. And when different things happen in your life, you're allowed to be present with those things and present with something that you want and the energy you put towards it. So I think they're kind of like showing you like, hey, you might have some like obsessive qualities, or like a need to dive in like both feet, once you figure out something works for you. But is there also coming along, does it also come along with this idea that like things aren't necessarily good and like easily accepted by you, unless they're in the way you imagine them. I think one of this person's lessons is to be like, look at yourself bloom through that journey. Like, that's the beauty of what's happening here. How you change subtly, but you notice it, even if no one else does. That's the part of you that I think they're helping you to connect with, more so than your outward achievements, because again, you have both of the energies present that you value. And I think sometimes you tend to like just dive into one or the other. And it's kind of like, hey, if you're in a season of like making a lot of money and you don't feel like you have time for love, but you really do want love in your life, or you want like to connect with people or whatever, like this person's kind of showing you that there's a way to have both of those and value all of your needs so that they get met regardless of what quantity they're getting met in. Like they're showing you something really beautiful about how to be human, and how you don't necessarily have to like live up to anyone else's standards but your own, and that's enough. If you've met your standards, if you like, you don't have to go above them to impress anyone. Just meet yourself where you are, you know? And like that version of you is just as lovable as when you're somewhere else that you're really connected to. When you're at a you know, maybe a better place in life, quote unquote, and you feel like that's more deserving of you to feel good about yourself. It's like, no, the moment is when you put the work in towards getting those needs met. That's when you should feel good about yourself. Because without that, nothing would ever change. So it's like kind of appreciating every rung of the ladder. I like this person. I like you too. I think that this person has like, they're like surrounded by grace is what it feels like. And now you are too, right? But don't take that as like you're not surrounded by grace. Just like take that as you have a different purpose. Let them be good at giving grace. Let them be good at sharing it. Your thing is going to be different and appeal to maybe more people in your life than it appeals to in theirs. Maybe a larger audience. Maybe you'll get paid for it. Maybe like, so careful when we're, you know, comparing. It's like what you are is what you have, and that's enough. I don't need to know what it is to know that that's enough to be grateful for. That's enough to change someone's life. It's enough to change your own. So this other person, hey, I'm in the middle of a reading. Do you want to come back in like 10 minutes?
What?
I'm in the middle of a reading. Do you want to come back in like 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. It sounded like there were multiple people. That was crazy. So maybe this person has a lot of different hats they wear, right? Like they're like overly busy because they've needed to like be their own resource a lot of the times, that they just kind of like can do a lot, but they don't see the overall picture of like who that is for them or something. Like it works for their goals, but this person I'm feeling is a little less self-actualized or something, and that they seem to be actually dealing with that right now, or in a season of learning. I think learning how to move through uncomfortable energies that present them with the ideas and understanding of what's actually going on within them that might not be so positive, and where the positive, the pride, is from acknowledging the truth and being able to deal with it. And maybe that's something that this person is working through. Can I say something? I love that you have you have a good balance. You value like self and everything that's not self, like equally. I think that's really working in your favor, like more than you recognize at this time, because you aren't necessarily seeing all of the environmental fruits from it. But I think that there's a strong, like, you might feel a little obsessive about things right now, but I think that you're working things out within yourself to kind of have clear vision of who you are. And I think once you get there, you're going to be like, damn, I am a balanced individual. Like, just naturally, what I want, there's a balance to it all. And I think you might, in that regard, have an ability to see the big picture in maybe a world where, like, in resources and finance and stuff, sometimes people can miss the big picture of how people are treated, what's affecting productivity, anything related to being human. It can kind of like dominantly weigh in on the finances of the financial world, of the resourceful world, or of the world of resources. That's not always good. Too much of that, and you get sick employees, you get yourself being sick as a worker, you get missed opportunities of connecting to certain people, of linking up with certain people, right? Like, and so I think that you have this really nice balance of being able to see when, like, a work thing can become a friend thing, or when you're pushing someone too hard and you're actually going to make them less productive. Like, and you know that you need to go somewhere else to fill in that gap. I think that you have a strong sense about you where what you move in, where you are, there's a strong sense of like your own presence that wants to come through, that you are always prioritizing, or that you feel is worthy of prioritizing. In that way, I think you actually reach a lot more people, because not only are you speaking about something that a lot of people care about, but the way that you speak about it is in a way that everyone can relate to. So they don't necessarily have to only know what you're talking about to feel connected to you. And I think that's one of your major gifts, is that you can speak about what you care about, but you can reach people, you can connect with people because of who you are. Does that sound about right? Or that's where you're headed? So this person is trying to figure out, how do I move through this feeling of like that something's got to give, something's got to change, like something's about to happen. I think that for them is that this person anticipates fear a lot, or things to fall. And maybe what's happening is this person is so used to like a business world where people are, bullshitting and kind of creating false narratives to get their needs met, their financial needs met, where it's kind of dog eat dog in some categories of life, right? I mean, realistically, it can be dog eat dog in any area of life. But I think this person has witnessed in their own world that they've mastered that people aren't always honest, people aren't always transparent, people don't always come across as real, but they kind of they know their plan or their financial plan more than they know themselves, and they can advocate for that, but like where would they even start to begin advocating for themselves? I think that there's something like that happening where this person doesn't realize that they anticipate things in their life in the way that they would anticipate them in a certain area of life. So maybe this person, especially because they're coming out as king and this person's coming out as queen, is like, it kind of symbolizes this energy of like they've gotten here over time. So this person is probably like a seasoned parent, a person who has always felt like, the mom of the group or the person responsible for people in a group. Always kind of been a little deeper than everyone else and maybe a little bit more isolated in younger years and stuff like that. There's this energy of like these are seasoned people, right? And I think that this person is kind of like seasoned in a way where like they could be retired, they could have mastered a craft and already exited it, like already moved on to something else. They could have, it's almost like this person seems to have achieved what they wanted to achieve, but now there's this piece that wasn't considered in that plan that they're learning to value because it wasn't necessarily something that was valued in this world. This could also look like you, like if there is like a relationship with parents or caregivers or something that has been strained in some way, this actually looks like a really healing energy around all that. Like as you change, so does your view of what's been happening around you this whole time. So this person is trying to, they're really good at whatever it is that they do. I think I would just go ahead and say they've likely mastered it and been able to like advise or teach or whatever other people, do consultations for other people about it. One thing that they haven't seen is how maybe like anxiety, depression, something like that has played into this, right? And I don't know, it just seems like, I don't know why this feeling is here. I don't know if this is someone that you feel at odds with, or if this is someone you feel really close to. But I think in addressing this, you're kind of like, your energy is kind of like this person's energy is rubbing off onto you, your energy is rubbing off onto this other person. You're like the middleman here in affecting certain dynamics that maybe never meet, just because of what you chose to value. And there's this kind of like beauty and grace of the world that it's actually something that this person values, but maybe they weren't running into it. And if this is a situation where this is your parent or something, you probably didn't learn to value that if they didn't, Or maybe there was tension if these are parents, between this person valuing one thing, this person valuing the other, and them saying, well, it's got to be one way or the other. We're not both welcomed in this space, instead of saying, how can these two worlds coexist? Whatever's happened, it's coexisted in you. And so you're kind of the living proof that it can. The two people can be very different and still find a way to find like balance and harmony within those differences and affect good change just by being yourself. And so part of that, I think, is that this person is working on getting to a point where they're realizing they've probably been really tough on themselves. They've been really critical of self. Again, it probably served them in some way, but I think that now it's just seeming like it's not a good way to continue. And I think that one thing that maybe you really like to help people, and part of your motivation actually comes from knowing you're helping someone. But if you're like only helping yourself, it's like maybe your motivation kind of like dwindles a little. I don't know why I want to say that, but that is definitely a feeling that I'm picking up here. Or it feels weird to say like picking up a feeling, but just that's definitely a feeling in relation to like how these cards are talking to each other. That's an even weirder thing to say, so we'll just go back to the first thing. Here's the thing. I don't know if you're talking to this person or if this person's watching you or whatever, but I think you like focusing on this thing that you want to do, whether it's a hobby or a career or both, small tasks that need to get done repetitively in order for you to get something that you desire in a big way. There's something about you and the unfolding of your process that this person is, it's inspiring this person. And that alone kind of makes me want to cry a little, which means I think that you would not know that. And I think you would be shocked to hear that. I think you would be shocked to hear that you're having such an influence on this person in a way where like their soul really is coming to value that. Because in a big way, I don't know that this person has valued you in the same way. Maybe they've supported you, helped you, whatever, but I don't know that they've connected with you. You know, like, I don't know that they've connected with themselves in a way that they feel comfortable connecting with other people, period. So for them to go through this because they're like affected by your energy and because you were affected by someone else's energy, it's just like a really good like feeling of humanity that you know, we're not aware of all this like stuff happening in the background, but it's still happening, right? Like we don't have to do all of the lifting in our lives alone. We couldn't too, because there's so many other people in the world that we can't possibly say we did everything ourselves, when there's literally like, did you build the car that you're driving? Did you build the airplane that you traveled here on? Did you, like, you couldn't have possibly done it alone. Even though we have this tendency to feel like we're just going at it alone constantly. And I think there's like these subtle ways that maybe are helpful to point out. They really do connect us, and we don't feel connected unless we are aware of that it's happening, you know? Like it's hard for it to have meaning before we feel impacted by all of these small things happening. So I think like kind of keep that in mind with this person. And it does seem like you have them at a distance. I don't really know why. Like it does look like you guys like kind of go in a battle together, but you have them for sure. There is a distance when this person is dealing with their emotions, and like anything outside of like finances, resources, something like that. Like very external things and like external systems. when this person starts dealing with internal things, what is that? Is like an alarm going off? I should probably go check on that. That's you're kind of like, whoa, there's a lot going on there. Like, I have a lot of my own chaos, and you kind of might feel like you step back and let them sort their chaos out by themselves. And you might feel like you're not helping them in that way, but I think you are. If you can step back and refocus on what you want to do, I think that's actually what helps them the most. So when you're living your life, you're not just living yours, you're kind of, you have a lot more territory that you're covering than what you realize. And we have justice, a Hierophant, the 8 of Pentacles. Something must have happened. The alarm went off. Something must have happened in your life where there was a large sense of injustice. Maybe it's this situation. Maybe you were kind of like felt wronged by this person. Maybe it's something totally different. Maybe you felt like you had a health thing and that wasn't fair, or you just had like a rough start to life, or a rough, midlife or something. There's some kind of justice here that's coming through of like you recognizing your stability through all of that chaos is like that's what's been wanting to happen. That's the turning point for like justice to come in. And for you to start building on kind of a life you agree with. I think it's like you might have been waiting for people to like be more accommodating, be more emotional, be more connected to themselves or to you. You might have been waiting for people to stop hurting you, to stop hurting others, to like for other people though is kind of this thing. And I think in a large sense is like the world kind of generally seems that way at just like when you look out at it, it's not really like peace, love, and happiness. It's kind of like, whoa, what is happening there? Like, why is that happening there? And why aren't we doing something about it? Like it's more like it's startling, right? And it's kind of like, whoa, there are a lot of crazy things that happen in the world and that are constantly happening, and sometimes it doesn't let up for like decades or centuries or whatever. And it's just kind of like, whoa, that like you definitely could interpret this life as like kind of like hell on earth, right? By just looking around and looking at what's going on. And I think that this is kind of a testament to your inner will and your rationality and your soul, what it needed to like thrive in this life. That despite all of that, you're choosing stability. You're choosing like passion and purpose. And that you're really, you get to connect with yourself. Probably after decades of feeling disconnected or disassociated from any connection, like that's the justice here. That was always kind of like where you were headed, I think, in all of the craziness that you've gone through. I think getting to a point where you realize you are not whatever you think the world is. Like, that doesn't have to be you. I think it's huge for you to be something different, to be a positive force in the world, to be someone who goes, I'm gonna follow my gut, and wow, look, there's like a really good person in there. Like, there's a lot of good things that are coming from that. There's a lot of inspiration that this is hitting people where they've been starved for it. They've been hungry for something like this, and they didn't even know it. Like that's what's coming from you, is something that people are like, wow, this completes a picture for me. And I think that's like, I think that would mean more to you than like, receiving an award in like bodybuilding or something, or receiving an award in, most grossed income over the first year of a startup or something like that. Is I think you're who you are is definitely tied to what you're doing here, and what you pick up in your life. Okay, so you've got the buffalo in the reverse. And then we have the cobra in the reverse. I see a lot of tension here. I think that you and this person, there's unspoken tension. Maybe it's not able to be spoken about because this person can't necessarily identify it yet. And that is just, it is what it is, right? But that's what I'm seeing there. I'm actually going to read the cobra for them and the buffalo for you. So let's start with the cobra. Pausing, waiting, the inner teacher. The cobra represents a teacher or spiritual guardian. The cobra hovers and watches, ever present, ever protecting, ever loving. The essence of the cobra is found deep within us in the form of the inner teacher, and manifests externally in those special guides who've led us along our path. What would it feel like to be a student again? What are you ready to learn? Remember the old saying, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. When in balance, is a student of life, is humble and is wise. When out of balance, is a know-it-all and egocentric. To bring it into balance, taking a class or studying. I also wanted to say something, that this person is they're like seeking this humility. They're like running into the challenge of how do I blend with that? How do I use that instead of my ego right now? Which I think is challenging for them. But also, like, imagine the amount of humility they had to accept just to start learning about that version of themselves. I think that it is a make or break energy. If you don't have it, you don't start working on something. And when you start feeling the need to, you have to start at square one. And that in itself takes a lot of courage. So sometimes it seems like we're failing at something, when in reality it's just us trying it, And Other times it seems like we've got everything figured out, but we're sitting in our comfort zone, not trying something new, not changing. So I think that one of the things this person has going for them is like they've tapped into some humility to accept that something about themselves is not where they want it to be, even though they are like, they have mastered a whole world that probably took years to master, you know? And I think those two side by side, if that was me, I'd feel very uncomfortable in that process, and it would take a lot to continue it. And so I just want to point that out, is that that's something that this person is doing that might be helpful to know. And maybe that's you, you know? Okay, so, I mean, just to say, like, maybe that's an energy that you have resonated with, and that's a way that you can see it within yourself. Then we have the buffalo. For you, grounded yet heavenly, practical yet spiritual. The hooves of the mighty buffalo are grounded in the earth, yet its heart and mind rise towards heaven. The buffalo sees challenge, hardship, or a bump in the road as an opportunity for upliftment. Therefore, the buffalo does not fear death, illness, or misfortune. Its gentle eyes look to the road ahead, trusting every turn. May we all experience this elusive yet life-changing bliss from time to time, and may we allow this card to remind us that life is a precious gift. When in balance, trusting, and has a pure presence. When out of balance, restless, and lacks gratitude. To bring into balance prayer and Bhakti. I'm going to go look up what Bhakti is. I think it's like a form of meditation, but like where you pair something physical, like yoga. I could be wrong. If you know, leave it in the comments. That is the reading for today. Yeah, we'll see if Otter comes out next time we've got this deck out, because I think I kind of want to read it, but I also want to let it be its own energy and unfold. So I'm happy with letting this one be what it is. So thank you for being here. I hope you got something from it, and I'll see you next time. All right, bye-bye.